Giotto di Bontone, born 1266 and died 1337. Giotto was a painter, sculptor, and an architect of the early Italian Renaissance. He is also credited with being the father of the Renaissance because of the physical and emotional accuracy of humans he portrayed in his works, which usually consisted of saints and other religious figures. He learned to paint and sculpt almost entirely on his own, with little help from some painters such as Pietro Cavallini, the Great Ducci, and Cimabue. Around the age of 10, Cimabue took him under his wing after he encountered him sketching a lifelike figure of his sheep grazing. He then became amazed at the talent he possessed without any prior experience or teaching, and believed that Giotto would make an excellent artist. Giotto is credited as being the father of the Renaissance because he also created a newer, more unique style of painting called humanism, which portrayed people in a way that made them appear three-dimensional and realistic. This was very different from the art of the medieval period, which restricted viewers from having a connection to the art and being a part of it. Di Bontone soon would lead the rise of the movement of naturalism. Naturalism focuses on authenticity rather than the Byzantine style of the Middle Ages. He placed great importance on the quality of realness in art and was the first artist to so closely observe humans and reproduce their gestures, expressions, and movement in art. In order to do so, he painted bright and colorful scenery, which substituted for traditionally holy colors.
What do you mean?
Giotto was originally given the proposal by Pope Boniface VIII to create his most famous piece, the Arena Chapel in Florence, Italy. It consists of a series of 38 frescoes, which Giotto was most notorious and famous for. His most important of all the frescoes is the Last Judgment, which is his largest work within the chapel. The top section of the piece illustrates God surrounded by all his angels in heaven. In addition, his apostles appear to be looking on in the lower half of the piece, waiting to find out whether they are going to be reincarnated into heaven or hell. Also, they were wondering whether they will be greeted by God, who is glorified in the center of the piece, or by the devil found in the bottom right in the afterlife. Another one of Giotto's significantly exceptional creations was the crucifix, located in the Santa Maria Novella Church in Florence, Italy. It is one of his earliest surviving works, and it is a masterpiece. The crucifix emulates the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, accurately portraying the body and the loss of life, which it is meant to represent. It is real in that the body of Christ seems to be affected by Earth's gravitational pull, a characteristic that would never be clearly portrayed in works from the medieval era. It focuses on the realism and emotion rather than the glorification of the divine, a technique which is very thematic of the Renaissance as opposed to a Gothic art perspective. The primary colors in this piece are black, which represents death, white, which represents purity, and red, representing blood and passion. Furthermore, as depicted in this artwork, Mary and Joseph seem to be almost looking down on their child, Jesus Christ. This helps highlight the idea of feeling sympathy and concern for his well-being, although he was destined to do so to open the gates of heaven for all of God's children. Di Bontone was a humanist, which means he was also a very religious man. It is often believed that because realism was focused on less in the Renaissance, that humanists had less of appreciation of divinity. But this is nothing more than a myth. All of Giotto's works portrayed the lives of Jesus and the Virgin Mary, and most of them were displayed in chapels. In the painting The Adoration of the Magi by Matthew Vulgate, the people were stiff like statues and seemed to serve no purpose in it. On the other hand, in Giotto's version of The Adoration of the Magi, Everyone in the painting is vibrantly colored and are engaged with one another, and their bodies are positioned in a natural and relaxed manner. Giotto di Bontone was a great man and an exceptional artist. In 1334, he was honored with the title of Magnus Magister, meaning the Great Master of Florence, which remains his title till this very day.
Now for fun facts about Giotto.
Bontone!
Yay!
Woo!
When the Pope first decided who was going to be painting the chapel, he got the greatest artists to put together portfolios that would be picked up by his messengers.
But Giotto was stubborn, and he decided not to make a portfolio. Instead, he drew a perfect circle.
The messengers were a little startled by the Pope and wondering why he picked an artist that just made circles out of all the other great arts that were made.
The Pope said that only an artist of great skill could have drawn such a perfect circle.
And he had 8 kids.
Di Bontone.
It's Bontone.
Oh my god, it's the same thing!
No, it's not.